the baby will not fly because it's supposed to be home and you kind of kick me out of work. They send us children aid in order to confiscate the child, which is in the last 2 years, 60,000 children confiscated in Germany. It's just insane. We won the case about children's aid and the mafia of government workers conspiring together in order to lie in court to confiscate children. We won that. The judge declared that those were lying government officials and public workers.
Forbidden Knowledge.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of Forbidden Knowledge. Today, we are going to talk about some really pressing matters. Also, we have a special guest with us today, Malko, very dear friend of mine.
There are a lot of things happening right now, Malko. As you know, I'm actually in the middle of a product launch. As you know, I'm launching on Monday, but I put that aside completely so we could have this chat and try to wake some people up. Malko, I don't know what we can do. I don't know what we're gonna do, but we're being exterminated on a massive scale. And we don't have enough people awake to this, I believe, to make a difference.
If you guys are familiar with my book, you'll know all about Malko already. I haven't been able to share too much about the missions that he's involved in. However, many of you have already guessed what some of those have to do with. And today he might reveal a little bit more about some of those missions. I wanted to bring up a few things, and one of them in particular is something that I have to bring up because we need to wake people up. As you know, I'm always trying to wake everybody up. And right now, I need to wake up my dad. And along with him, I'd like to wake up a bunch of other people. To what? Well, to the fact that over the past 25 years, over 30 million Americans have undergone chemotherapy and died. Why am I mentioning this? Oh man, a good friend of mine, Charles Pixley, actually was put in jail about 30 years ago for trying to tell people this very thing. And since what we deal with here is forbidden knowledge, oh boy, then I just have to tell you that if you can get cancer, it's really important for you to know that you can also unget cancer. I'm trying to set up an interview with my friend Charles Pixley, but in the meantime, if you or any of your loved ones are dealing with cancer, I highly recommend you call Charles Pixley right now. I'm actually going to give you his phone number, 585-217-2191. That's 585-217-2191. Charles is a lover of mankind. He's not going to mind that I gave out his number. If you really need to get a hold of him, call him. And you definitely need to get your hands on a copy of this book, Do No Harm, 714X, Defying a Hopeless Prognosis. I'm letting you skim it right here real quick, but because of copyright issues, I obviously can't give you the whole book, but I definitely recommend you get it. Let's stick with cancer for a little bit. But some of the other stuff I wanted to talk about, holy cow, like, what is Executive Order 14067? Like, what is it really? Do you guys know? Dude, do you guys know that total control of all U.S. citizens has been surrendered? Like, all U.S. citizens are now tracked, recorded, every purchase. The U.S. dollar is about to be replaced with trackable spyware. Anyway, let's get back to forbidden knowledge. What is that knowledge? Fear. You have to get past the fear. And that's exactly the first thing the doctor does to you is he puts you in a state of fear. This fear state is not what your bodies need. Our bodies are already toxified enough as it is. You know, we're getting toxified by the chemtrails in the air that nobody believes are real. Well, don't call them chemtrails. Call them what they are, geoengineering. And you'll actually find out what geoengineering is. Aerosol spraying of our clouds with aluminum and coal fly ash, which is the residue when you burn coal. These are the most deadly toxins to human beings. Our bodies are toxified enough as it is, so why would you add more poisons? Listen, all cancer secretes a hormone, and it blocks the immune system. Human chorionic gonadotropic hormone, or HCG. This hormone makes cancer basically invisible to our natural immune system. Okay, you can't poison it, you can't cut it out, you can't burn it out. You have to find the root cause, like what's actually causing the cancer. Not add more poison to the body. Anyway, 714X is non-toxic, it's inexpensive, it causes no side effects, and it causes the body to shut down that hormone by flushing out the lymphatic system, which is the primary defense system. And then it strengthens the immune system so it can take over. Look up the side effects of any cancer drug. All of them are marked with skull and crossbones, poison. They're telling you to look out for poison, and that's the first thing they do is poison you. They don't eliminate cancer. They eliminate what's left of your fighting immune system, and it makes you even weaker than you were when you first started. All right, guys, why am I in Colombia? Well, a lot of you don't know me because this is a new channel. This is my Substack. In fact, I'm a beta tester for the video Substack. So welcome, everybody. I am hoping that this channel gets lots of views because aside from all of the nicknames and different things that I'm known as, I'm also the most censored real estate agent in history. That's for a reason. I specifically deal with forbidden knowledge. I've been making the biggest enemies for the last 30 years, starting with the Fed. The Fed is not a federal organization. It has nothing to do with the federal government. It's a group of families that have gotten together and created this usury system. And they invent money out of thin air. And they enslave us by making us pay money that they invented and created out of thin air, along with interest. So you pay that back, and if over 2-3 times over, and if for some reason you aren't able to pay 1 or 2 or 3 months or more, even though they have no personal stake in this property that you've been a slave for all these years, they will actually take it away from you. And anyway, I've been teaching people how to pay off mortgages in 6 to 8 years instead of 30 using a simple HELOC principle. And I've been teaching this information for free. So that's one way I got on the naughty list, on the enemies list of some of the most powerful entities. The next way, now I am protected because I have a bunch of information on them that they know I have. And this is all encrypted with my software. Software which has never been hacked, never has been, the algorithms have never been broken. And to decode it, the closest that anyone's ever gotten was the University of Peru. And that was thanks to our guest who is going to be with us. He was able to decipher the system used in our encryption. Just to give you a shortcut, what they did because of his knowledge of various languages, he was able to realize that the key lies with knowing the Our Father in Spanish, English, Polish, Aramaic, and Latin. So those 5 languages, you take the Our Father, well, I'm not going to tell you too much more, but anyway, that's some of the stuff that's required to decrypt this software that has been embedded inside of creation source software, real estate power tools, in a dead language called Macromedia Director. Inside of there you will find encrypted all of the secrets of the world. I've been hacking or paying hackers to break databases for me, and all this stuff from the dark web, from the regular web, from corporate databases. All this information is instantly encrypted and put up on the blockchain and put up there for posterity, so that someday in the future somebody can crack this and find all the secrets and all the ugliest things I saw. Everything. I just encrypted everything, put it up there because I don't think people should have access to this stuff. If you do want access to it, it's out there, it's available, but I'm not going to give it to you. The only way to get it is by cracking my code, my encryption, and it's not going to happen because you have to decrypt a bunch of different layers. You have to go into Minecraft worlds. You have to find certain treasures, find certain unlocks, certain things that my kids put together, certain places they've visited, and they've turned into a 360 virtual world. Anyway, that's not going to happen unless I get killed. If I get killed, then all these secrets are exposed. Anyway, that's what keeps me safe. That's what keeps my family protected. And that is a really, really brief update as to what's been happening the last 3 years. We are still having a lot of our homeopathic doctors and naturopathic doctors killed.
Dr. Seeby, a.k.a. Alfred Bowman. He was killed in police custody. He was known for his work on natural cures for cancer, diabetes, and AIDS. We have Dr. John Marshall. He was a practitioner. He was a 4th-generation Marine, and he was accidentally drowned while out for a run. Dr. Rod Floyd apparently committed suicide in his sauna. His wife doesn't believe that. Dr. Bradstreet, fatal gunshot wounds to the chest. Dr. Gaynor, found in the woods. His body was ruled a suicide. Dr. Sievers, 2 gunmen. Dr. Holt and Dr. Hindall, their bodies were discovered and it's still under scrutiny. Dr. Fitzpatrick's, he was mysteriously disappeared. Mary Bouvier, murdered in her home. The German conference, 20 doctors poisoned and rushed to the hospital. Dr. Pass died of alleged suicide. Dr. Block, alleged suicide. Dr. Vincer, a 3-car crash. Dr. Grossman fell off his balcony while trying to get his keys. Dr. Grossman, falling off his bike, major head trauma. Dr. Ernstine, attacked and murdered. Dr. Vanette, body was found after her dog had been hit by a car, but her body wasn't found for days later. Dr. Hurley, another bicycle accident. Dr. Mileto and his wife were attacked. He survived, his wife did not. Professor Alan Clark, body found hanging in the woods. Dr. Cheryl DeBoer, a HIV and cancer researcher. She was found in a culvert with a plastic bag wrapped around her head. A suicide. Dr. Polke went missing, then her body was found in the ocean. Dr. Rasmussen, body was stabbed 30 times. Satori committed suicide. Dr. Sauer, gunman walked in and killed him. Dr. Hong, murdered. Dr. De Silva was reported missing, and then his body was found. Dr. Burt, reported missing, body found in his car sometime later. Dr. Shi, stabbed to death. Dr. Zaidana, believed he was poisoned, died after a serious illness. Dr. Gonzalez, labeled a homicide. Dr. Lena Bolaños and Dr. Richard Field, gunmen in the house, both of them were murdered. And that's just some of them. Considering that holistic medicine is such a niche group, that's a very small group to have so many very strange deaths occur in them. Not very many coincidences happen like that. Only around our government.
Let me go back to my notes because I'm obviously off topic and I like to run late, and we've got a very important guest waiting for us here. So, why am I in Colombia? Well, I told you that the US dollar is being replaced with a trackable spyware. Did I tell you that I hacked into a list of people who need to be removed? We'll talk about that in a second. Because as a US-born state national, I am sad to report that the Republic has died. There are no elected officials. In fact, there haven't been since 1999. You know that if you've been following my Forbidden Knowledge channels. But why am I in Colombia? Because I hacked into some intel that opened my eyes to the fact that I don't think we need to get into who they are. They have a list. Okay, you know what? Since this is a new channel, the judicial system, law enforcement, federal level, basically everybody working against the constitutional republic, they have a list of 125 million people who need to be removed, disappeared, eliminated, murdered. Okay, I saw too many names that I recognized on there. We are being systematically eliminated. Just before I fled the U.S., 24 homeopathic and natural medicine practitioners were murdered in my area. And a whole bunch of my inner circle truthers have been attacked digitally, financially. Our well-being and personal health have been under attack via a variety of different nefarious technologies unleashed at our rallies, at our events. We are being actively exterminated. There are not enough of us right now to make a difference. I woke up in the past thanks to the greed of the bankers. As a managing real estate broker for the past 30 years, I've been exposing their formulas to steal homes, how they raise interest rates, their due on sale clauses, and all these algorithms that are set up. We, the people, are under attack. Our nation is in free fall and nobody sees it. What do you need desperately? Well, first of all, you need God. And I'm not going to talk about God here because it's not what we're here for, but we need solar generators. We need communications equipment, like a bivy stick. Go to sat123.com. Our food sources have been depleted on purpose. Our oil supplies have been choked out. Our power grid is next, along with our communications infrastructure. Our food supply, there is no food in the pipeline. The banking system, transportation, and logistics, they're all going to be taken down at the same time. Cell towers will not function. An active depopulation agenda. They're tracking, whacking, and stacking bodies. And I'm serious. This is a database of 125 million people. And you guys know tons and tons and tons and tons of names on here. This is a hit list, a kill list. We are active participants, guys. We are active participants of mass extermination in a coordinated effort. This is biblical. Tens of millions in China. Here in the U.S., I'm telling you, 125 million people on a list that needs to be exterminated, murdered. And again, this is biblical. I'm not going to talk about God. We're not going to talk about that. But the goal here is to annihilate humanity. Okay? The 4 horsemen of the apocalypse are right now, in effect, depopulating our earth. For those of you who are non-biblical, those are death, famine, plague, and war.
Today we have a special guest with us. Happens to be a very dear personal friend of mine. He's a Chasqui messenger. For those of you who are familiar with the book Forbidden Knowledge, you'll know that chapter 9 was dedicated to Chasqui Malko. He's always involved in really, really exciting missions and always has amazing stories for us in situations that really shouldn't still be happening. But I'm going to let Malko take it away for us. For those of you who are familiar with the Forbidden Knowledge Brighteon page, Malko is featured in the 2 most recent videos there, but he's also the centerpiece of several very important missions going on right now. One of them, to me, close to my heart, is trying to save the wax palm tree in El Eje Cafetero in Colombia. However, there are much more important missions right now, like trying to, I can't talk too much about some of those. But Malko, why don't you go ahead and share with us some of the adventures that you had on the airplane recently, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Ramiro. Good to see you. We got into the airport and we didn't have the mask. But when we were going to the airlines, because German airlines require masks, it was so hot that 40% didn't have the mask. Susan put the mask on, and I was, because they refused to do the luggage for us, we had too many bags on us. I couldn't lift everything and have the freaking mask on while I was pushed by another passenger. Go. Since other passengers didn't have it, because I as well, right? So anyway, like a flight attendant, they put the mask on, and they say like later when I sit down and I get to the seat, they put the bags on, like I have a bags, man, you know, child bag and stuff, blah. So I put everything, I sit down. Okay, so the captain like tells me put the bag on. One thing to another, I say, okay, like tell me the law. Tell my law, okay, I put the mask on. Right? But then they start to play the system, like, no, you get the fuck out of here, kind of thing, right? They say, hey, where are you? Like, you know, and they start to lie.
And the captain says, no, I asked you several times and you were aggressive and stuff like this, which was already a lie.
So here I am in Mexico, and I was refused to fly with the aeroplane because while loading on the aeroplane, I didn't have my mask on. And it was so hot, and the conditions were really uncomfortable that I would say 40% of people in the plane didn't have the mask in the first place. You can hear it actually what happened. Like
This is one adventure after another, right? I'm sorry.
So, but I was put it out, and here's Susan that travels with me with the child. She had a mask. She was kicked out of the airplane, and the child associated with me. There's a big injustice that I find was done to family, to us. I'd like to get to the bottom of it.
We're not going to be allowed to fly planes anymore.
He has just ego problem.
Yes.
Look, here doesn't have a mask. Who else doesn't have a mask? Behind us here doesn't have a mask. They are watching how they read.
People didn't identify themselves in the first place. Like, it's Mexican way, you know, putting everything under cover, build the fire, is fire and stuff. It was full of irregularity.
Tenemos que llamar a la policía y la policía tiene que hacerlo. Sí, en serio, vamos a hacer una denuncia seria.
The police of the airport were just that's the show. The guy saying, oh well man, like don't be violent now, Mexican police is coming, don't be violent now. The Mexican police, military police approaches, you know, and he goes, oh, I was violent, you know, and so on. So like,
si ya vienes también lo que es Guardia Nacional,
Ajá.
al
Sí.
momento pues que se haga presencia, pues le va a afectar más a usted.
Vamos a ver, porque tenemos que hacer eso. Procedimiento hasta final. Yo me voy a quejar a la empresa, vamos a pagar seguro, va a hacer todo eso. Porque yo tengo fotos tuyas, tampoco tienes máscara puesta. Entonces, has hecho un pedo a la familia, mira, el niño está durmiendo. Queremos ir.
La oportunidad de las cosas bien y no quiso.
Sí, pero ¿cómo que cosas bien? Mira, tengo excepción para no tener máscara. Ahora me falta oxígeno. Eso no sirve para nada.
Ya no vuela, ¿verdad? No. Señor, you need to go right now.
No, yo te tengo que esperar policía que me traiga. De verdad, no. Nada interno del aeropuerto. Sí, yo prefiero policía. No, legalmente policía que me saquen y yo voy a denunciar que porque qué pasó. Tengo que hablar con policía. Sí, por favor. No me dijo, no me han dicho eso. Lo tengo bien documentado. No, me están mintiendo y lo vamos a... Sí, yo también.
Usted no vuela hoy a Alemania. De
A
que
ver.
no vuela, no vuela. Vaya
Gracias.
pensando eso en su
¿Quieren
cabeza.
esperar a las autoridades?
Sí.
Vamos a esperarla allá
Sí,
afuera.
por favor. No, aquí dentro y ellos tienen que decirme que yo tengo que salir del avión. Porque yo no hice nada malo.
Telling her, hey, you're not gonna fly with your child. Very much start to think where you're gonna be sleeping.
Estoy seguro,
Vaya
voy a
pensando
decirme.
dónde va a dormir
Sí.
hoy con su bebé.
Esa es una amenaza.
What did you say?
You start to think where you're gonna sleep with your child.
¿Dónde está la Guardia Nacional? Imagínate, pasa algo más grave y la Guardia Nacional. Ahí viene la policía. Y no se ponga agresivo porque
No,
ya sabe cómo es la policía en México.
Oh,
sí.
you know the police.
Be nice with them, okay?
Just please everyone have a seat, please.
Ahí viene. Just be nice with them. Don't forget about it.
You don't need to call your
El señor no va a
No vuela.
volar.
Se puso
Se
agresivo.
fue
Ya
a
dijo el
despedir con
capitán.
el capitán y
No.
tomó la decisión.
Agresivo.
No va a volar.
Agresivo está mintiendo, no hay nada de agresividad. Yo me levanto y me voy, no hay pedo. Pero él está mintiendo, no había nada de agresividad y aclaramos eso en la estación. Listo. Pero está mintiendo.
La señora tampoco
Who's
vuela.
deciding this?
Who is deciding this?
El capitán ya dijo que usted tampoco vuela.
¿Por qué no?
Porque no, tampoco obedeció la orden.
¿Orden de quién?
It doesn't matter. You have to
We
go
can
out.
discuss, man. We can discuss outside.
Por favor, levántense, por favor. Ya hicieron perdernos mucho tiempo.
Meine Damen und Herren, wir möchten Sie einmal bitten, sich hinzusetzen, den Gang frei zu machen,
Sí, pero está mintiendo todo, no te imaginas.
damit es dann hier auch gleich weitergehen kann. Vielen Dank.
Dear sir or madam, I would like to describe my experience on Condor Flight DE2991 on August 8, 2022 from Cancun to Frankfurt. Make a complaint and request compensation. My partner,
Shemiswa Malko.
my baby, Ilyas Navash, and I were evicted at midnight on the night of the flight. There was no reason to dump me and my baby on the street at Cancun Airport in the middle of the night. There were no more taxis as the last plane that landed was long gone. I would like to describe the situation in detail as I have worked in customer service for many years, including for the Lufthansa Complaints Department. I want you to read this letter carefully and take it seriously, as I know how customer service works and recommend that you forward this letter to your superiors or even superiors of superiors immediately. I know the procedures and the way the complaints departments work. I also know the procedures for writing flight logs if anything of this sort has happened. You must take the time and study the following link carefully. Malko.com/Germany/Kipus/091 level 3.html. This case can be compared to the experience on the plane, since it was also about authorities who were used to asserting subjective, negative, even lying behavior toward us without reflection. We entered Cancun Airport without a mask. Me just under my chin and my husband without, as we both have official medical exemptions. These papers were also accepted by security and hand luggage scan.
Wore them?
While waiting for boarding, half the passengers have their masks under their chins, perhaps knowing that the President of Mexico had lifted mask requirements entirely a few weeks ago. We were among the first people to board the plane, as we were planning to travel with our 13-month-old baby. I already had my mask on when we got on the plane, only my partner had to carry all our hand luggage and didn't have it on yet, and was therefore pointed out by a stewardess and she handed him a mask. Mr. Malko then said that she would definitely protect him. He put the mask on. Later, he explained to me that it fell off, and with the stress of carrying 3 heavy bags, he decided to put the mask on the seat so as not to hold up traffic, as he was not getting any help from the flight crew. We weren't even given the right gear, so we had to run way to the back, me with a child and full baby bag, and finally, we had to squeeze through the middle seats. So I had my mask on and got another mask ready for my partner, who was busy packing our carry-on luggage, getting some things ready for the baby, and making us as comfortable as possible. At check-in, I asked if it was possible to get an empty seat next to us that we could place the baby on once the baby sleeps on the flight. We were informed that the flight was fully booked. When most of the passengers were seated, it was clear to see that a great many seats were still vacant, and the passengers in front and behind of us were being rearranged. My guess is due to our presence. The pilot and a security employee from the airport approached us and informed us that Mr. Malko would not be flying with us. I would like to emphasize one thing in particular. The security guard himself had his mask under his nose the entire time, which I understand, but I pointed this out to him, and he cynically repeated several times that you will not fly to Germany today, to my partner in Spanish. The captain noticed that my partner didn't speak German and wasn't sure about his decision. He asked Herr Malko what his citizenship was. He answered in Polish and Canadian. My partner asked the pilot to tell him what the rules are, that despite the mask exemption, he now has to wear them, but told the pilot that from now on, he will put them on, with the mask in his hand. The pilot couldn't give an exact answer and began arguing that my partner had defied authority and had become aggressive. Meanwhile, my partner had already put on the mask. I was in a kind of shock and said, "That can't happen. He is the father of our baby and we have to fly together." I shared this in English. The airport security man repeatedly put pressure on the pilot to finally make the final decision and get Mr. Malko out. Due to the fact that each of the airport employees refused to identify themselves, Mr. Malko decided that he would wait until he was escorted according to the protocol and correct procedure. When the pilot and security staff again made the false claim that Mr. Malko had become aggressive and refused to put on the mask when asked by the pilot, I dared to correct the pilot and ask him to stick to the true facts. The pilot and security staff then disappeared to the cockpit. A few minutes later, the pilot made an announcement that 2 passengers were causing problems and that there was a delay. I repeated 2 with shock. A while later, the pilot and security staff approached us again. This time, the security staff repeated several times, again in a cynical way, that neither of us will be flying to Germany today, and emphasized with particular joy, and the baby neither. Y el bebé tampoco. He repeated this about 7 times. He said, we can start thinking about where we're going to take our baby tonight. At this point, I want to emphasize 2 things. The baby slept peacefully on my chest the entire time. If Herr Malko had become aggressive, my baby would have woken up. He's highly sensitive to such things. The second thing is that we have audio recorded the entire situation. And if we are confronted with further lies from the Condor staff, these audio recordings will be used to stay with the truth. So the reasons for kicking my partner out were, first of all, that he had shown aggressive behavior. He had refused to put on the mask, and he had not bowed to authority. After I corrected the pilot in the normal way, there were only 2 reasons. He didn't trust him anymore. He knew people like my partner, and he wouldn't have listened to the steward. So the pilot decided to throw me and my baby out on the street at 12:30 at night for no reason. To my knowledge, the pilot does not know that he refused travel to the baby's and me's home country, as he was only making sure that my partner is not a German citizen. However, he shares his residence with me in Germany. So we waited for the police. It was so warm on the plane that 2/3 of the people all wore their masks under their chins. Both the female passenger behind us and most of the people staring at us as we were humiliatingly escorted with military and guns. We have photos of that too and are willing to publish them. I don't want to slander the other passengers. I just want to point out the uncomfortable conditions on the plane. My partner arrived at our seat sweating with his hands full of bags and no time to pick his mask up off the floor as the other passengers were waiting behind us. Since the pilot first approached us, Mr. Malko wore his mask the entire time, while many passengers, including the woman behind us, observed the situation with masks under their chins. See the photographs? Isn't it understandable that there can be confusion since all airlines and countries in Europe now have different regulations when it comes to masks? Where is the proportionality to deny a mother and her baby entry into the home country, regardless of the risk? Even the security guys said if this was a real emergency, how long would we wait for the police? Please. The pilot didn't give any reason why I and my baby had to be escorted off the plane as well. In an emergency, I would have flown alone. Now, I want to share with you the damage your company has caused to us and is directly responsible for, just because I dared warn the pilot to stick to the facts. We got the flight with our last one money posted. The taxi, which we were able to take through sheer luck and the friendliness of the Mexicans, cost us 100 euros. We have no money for a new ticket. I was not prevented from traveling home to my and my baby's home country for nothing. We're stuck in a country with just a one-day visa, which migration gave us after we were escorted out. I was denied a call to my mother, who was waiting for us. My mother woke up in shock to the news. She has PTSD and a small heart defect. I'm out of medicine, thyroid hormone. The whole situation was very traumatic for me and the baby. We're out of rent money in Mexico and sometimes have to sleep in the car. Our baby's sleep rhythm is completely disrupted because we couldn't put him into a cot until 7 in the morning. The baby is in the midst of teething and is developing a molar, which is particularly painful and has made the situation even more stressful for the baby. My baby's passport expires on August 23rd. And we have no means of getting out of the country by then. I have excruciating pain in my left rib cage from the stress of moving bags and baby out. My baby can only be fed with the right breast at night, and I have to lie on my side, which then hurts so incredibly it is almost unbearable. I will have this certified by a doctor. Your company is directly responsible for all the financial damages. I am requesting compensation for the accommodations, a replacement flight, or a full refund of the money. A solution on how to get my medicine and how to solve the problem of my baby's passport. Since we have audio recordings of the entire scandalous situation, I advise you to refrain from further lying and take responsibility for what your company did to me and my baby, and yes, the baby's father too. We had actually had a pleasant experience flying with their airline on the outgoing flight to Mexico, and my partner insisted on flying Condor again. However, this turned out to be a real-life comedy story, and the reality of ignorance and disproportionality quickly caught up with us. The shame I have endured at being escorted by the military and by arms is far removed from any sense of humanity and kindness. It will be argued by the pilot that it needn't have come to this. My partner could have just left, but my partner is military and legal. Staff should have identified themselves. In the end, everything stayed under the table. We didn't get anything in writing, and only at last the names of the 2 military workers. When my partner approached them again, while I desperately had to organize a taxi, all with the baby in my arms. My partner went in search of the military personnel who escorted us to identify them. He went to the military office at the airport to have it properly handled according to military procedures. After a short explanation, they understood what my partner does in Mexico and why they have to identify themselves, and they gave my partner their names. The second only after the first ordered him to identify himself as well. I hope you find this detail important to realizing how much under the table this whole operation was. What is the official statement from Condor, that my baby and I were banned from the flight? Or was it just the convenience of not having to sort through our suitcases? You can't argue with aggressive behavior because we recorded everything. Only when I knew that I would be kicked out too did I react a little to the provocations of the Cancun airport security staff. How do you explain that a third of the passengers didn't have their masks on while I wore them all the time? Again, I expressed my fullest understanding as it was uncomfortable and very hot on the plane. Think about the proportionality of all the harm you've done directly to my baby and me. The family has been waiting longingly for the grandchild, nephew, great-grandchild. A pickup from the airport was organized. This is the first and last outstretched hand. And as you understand, not to make circles, because as you also understand, there is less than 2 weeks left on the child's passport. Are they willing to smooth things over and settle it out of court, or should we get down to business? Urgently waiting your action as we are in this situation. Thanks to your airline, Susan Navas. Mama is told that beside the fact that she had the mask all the time on board since she carried a child, and I did the rest. At the check-in, I requested to put my handbags directly with the rest of the baggage since it was too hot. I was informed that it was impossible and that I exceeded by 10 kilograms already. We were being rushed and the lady just started to be attended. Okay, the lady had just started to attend me. Was holding her head in despair since for her was calculated 500 and something. We said that our reservation and the documents say 20 plus 20 plus 20 kilos, 3 people. I was requested to show my cellular. The agent took my cellular and went to his supervisor. This must be on the security camera, and so on. Point is, I was right. So they let as 10 kilos fine swing by, but rest of the things I could carry in my teeth as they were concerned. She will not fly because the guy who refuses to identify himself is supposed to be home by now. It is a personal vengeance, abuse of power entrusted, falsification of reports, and so on. This guy said he was supposed to be home by now.
Yeah, he's repeating that on the video. Your baby will not fly because it's supposed to be home, and you kind of kick me out of work. Once you are with your 60 kilo of luggage, which we were under, like let's say 54 or 56. Okay, so once they put it on the scale, I say, okay, you overpassed 10 kilo, right? I say, no, it didn't. It's 20, 20, 20, right? No, it's 20, 20, and 10. They calculate $500 something for other luggage, right? So like, she's holding her head. And we have a discussion. They're like, hey, our ticket says 20, 20, 20, so we have 60 kilos, so just pass it on and keep going, right? So they really wanted some money, but at the end, they took my cellular. They went to get the copy of the ticket, right? And the manager just like let them through. Traveling with child, like I was asking them to take my hand luggage, right? So just take my hand luggage, just put it into the downstairs in bodegas, they call it in Spanish, and just it's fine. But say no because of the kilos, which is the same amount of kilograms I'm getting. Doesn't matter in the aeroplane if it's downstairs or upstairs, right? But no, they have to make it difficult for us. Humidity, like even the guy who didn't identify, none of them wanted to identify. Even military wouldn't identify themselves until we were kicked out of the airport. Not even immigration. I had no name. I was asking everybody, right? So everybody had their identification, which I find it highly irregular. This is what this identification is for. So when somebody wants it, gets it, right? Anyway, in immigration, they actually made us erase the material because we took illegal pictures at the airport, right? And they say, we sued for that, and so on and so on. They took the camera because this is getting out of control already. Yeah. Especially the position, it's militaries. Mexico to control the police, it's corrupted, right? But those are not even police. It's just a crazy situation. Total abuse, which is one subject is mine with the mask, a second one is Susan and the child that were refused to, return to the country with the passport already almost finished. Right? I mean, there's no reason for her to be. It's clear. It's just a vengeance of the employees. Can you hear me well there? Well, I'm looking for support, especially like legal staff. I go on and get to the bottom of this, especially financial too. So those two are special ones. Quite alright. So I'm thinking to extend my hands to Acapulco people. As you know, for example, I have a very high profile case, which when we were in Germany, when child was born, what they did is they sent us children aid in order to confiscate the child, which is in the last 2 years, 60,000 children confiscated in Germany. It's just insane. We were the first case in Germany in many years, over 20 years, that actually won a case of this caliber. The judge declared that those were lying government officials and public workers. So we finished that case in Germany, we won. We won the case about children's aid and the mafia of government workers conspiring together in order to lie in courts to confiscate children. We won that. We had some agreements with the courts. We will not publish that video that I made. For example, I had children's aid workers saying to me, I represent your child now in court. And I don't see how you can be a good father if you want the justice and you want to go to the process in courts in Germany that it will last until he's 18 years old and you will never win this case. And Germany has unlimited resources. It will cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars. And the judge doesn't care for truth. Judge in Germany is only to follow certain procedures, right? It was insane, so I record that too on another. So with all this kind of interacting peoples, I could say we were able to win the case. Now then the judge said that to me that government officials would not lie to me, and that was like a very extreme situation, right? So I said no, this happens all the time in Germany, except nobody can win it, right? So she said, I promise you it not happen to you. And it happened again in something else, right? So then we wrote a letter to the mayor of the city and copied to two another cities that are friendly to Polish people that are being discriminated, longer thing. And if they don't fix the second thing, because again, workers are lying, then we will sue them for 2 cases, right? So this was kind of like when we were in Acapulco, that was the German government said just stop for 3 months and let us put the papers together because this was too much for them. So I said, okay. So in Acapulco, when we were in the meeting, I was waiting for German government to get their resources together. And all of this quiet out, but now Susan said, okay, I just warn you because we had a case about truth speaking, and workers cannot lie. Like I was not violent, blah, 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 blah. No reason to kick Susan out of the airplane and put the child through the dangers. All this is unprofessional, unnecessary, and unacceptable. So I decided to do something about it. So basically, most of the thing I need a cooperation of people who know things, and so we can coordinate strategy about it. And of course, I need the financial support for it, right? So you can have like $5, $10. We'll keep you updated on how is it going and where we are at. I do need that community support, be it from Acapulco, which is my 4th year that they finished. That when I was in Acapulco, I was mentioning that, hey, because we have Epstein, we have other, cases there who were presenting their own cases with Children's Aid. And let's do something about it, right? That was one of the covers, one of the projects. So let's do some funding down. Let's really get this international mafia of children abuse and confiscation rolling, and I can use my case, which I already won. Why did they win it? Because it's truth. It's just all based on lies.
When we don't do anything, that's when they keep getting away with it.
Exactly. This is what students say at the aeroplane, because they say we kick you out because you challenge authority. She didn't, She just say, hey, stick to the truth. To the captain and to the security guy who was like, well, whatever he was, because he hid his identity to himself, let's say, and to his co-workers. But
all right, so
when we were working out, he was still, with his amenazas mexicanas, like, the laws in Mexico, you're gonna be sued, and so on and so on. I got that stick still just to make me scared. Already pacified immigration and stuff. Which immigration gave me 1-day visa, man. I'm already out of those things. They really want to put me hard pathway to cross, which I already do it. So it's like adventure, which is good, So I need support for that. I am in Playa del Carmen. 400 pesos per day. So I have to get out from here. This is, it was too dark. We were already, so we didn't have the key to come back to the house, right? So we load from the taxi, everything to the jeep, stay in the jeep, wait in the morning until everybody wakes up, say, let us in again, right? We are just kind of like a taxi meter now, ding, 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 ding. That's another thing we're fundraising too, and the other things. But I expect airlines to cover that very soon. If not, well, this is what the HIP stands for, and let's do it. Let's just fight it over.
I have to bring up right now the hospital murder that's going on worldwide. And I'm going to mention this because a good friend of mine, Charles Pixley, who actually was put in jail for curing people of cancer and giving information about 714X, is right now putting together a team of attorneys for people who are suffering or had family members murdered with remdesivir and this hospital murder protocol. So one of the things I'm trying to wake people up to is the cancer is not the end of the road. This was a real quick snippet in the book, but I need to bring it up now because my father's dealing with some stuff, and it's just so sick to me that I lost 4 of my grandparents, and so many people lose so many of their loved ones every year for lack of knowledge. Just lack of knowledge. So that's the one thing I wanted to wake people up to. And then my personal mission, as you know, Malko, and the reason that your story was so dear to my heart is child trafficking. And you may know that one of the reasons I left the United States is because I have a lot of enemies there, and one of them is the largest human trafficker there is, and that is DCFS, the Department of Children and Family Services. So the biggest child abductors are the Department of Children and Family Services, and that's all around the world. And we need to wake people up to the fact that just because they help 1 child or 2 children doesn't mean they're helping all of them. And you have evidence. You actually went to court and you were able to prove that these people are actually in the business of stealing our children. And we're not going to talk about what happens to the children afterwards, because that's completely different stuff. But the fact that it's a business to harvest our children, and many times it's in the United States, let's say it's undocumented immigrants, children that are being taken away, and they're being threatened, saying, well, do you want to be deported? Let us take this child to a better family. And the people assume that, okay, it's going to go to a better family, but no, that's not really what's happening. Here's a solution that I want to hear what your thoughts are, being that you are at the place where one of these people stepped all over our human rights, obviously damaged your trip, your child's health, partner, all of this stuff. What do we do about that? Well, I want you to hear what Fryer has to say and then tell me what your thoughts are, because this is, I think, what we need to do on a massive scale.
Watching videos, reading articles, learning. Maybe we go to some protests and tell the government that we don't like what they're doing. Please stop. We probably still sometimes wear the mask. but we're not doing anything to stop it. Now, when there is a criminal conspiracy active, ongoing, that's killing hundreds of thousands of people, you don't go, please stop. It's not going to stop it. And this is why it's going ahead, and people say, there's several groups, we'll never win, they're too great. We'll totally win, we are right. But none of these groups are doing anything to stop it. You're not going to stop this by writing letters to your politicians. They're all bought. You're not going to start this by going to a town hall meeting and telling them to stop. Maybe in some small towns that might work, but in the big cities not. They're all bought. It's not going to happen by legislation. Do you think the globalists haven't bought all the legislatures of the world and all the politicians? They would never have been pulling this off if they hadn't. Journalists aren't going to listen to you. They're all bought. Judges certainly aren't going to listen to you. They're all bought. If not at the lower levels, at the highest levels. The globalists would have never launched this unless they already controlled all these things. We are being given a lot of false hope by these little occasions in which someone intervenes and stops something for a time, or this certain death vax is removed and not others. So it's absolutely essential that we organize a true opposition. And I don't mean a political movement. I don't mean any kind of movement. I mean, we oppose the criminal conspiracy. And how do you stop a criminal conspiracy that's ongoing? There's only one way. You arrest the criminals. Okay, I said this in November of 2020, and people thought it was great. I said it, and I got a lot of claps from it. But no one did anything, and still no one's doing anything. So stop with, I have to found a new political movement, a new political party. We have to organize the opposition. We need a protest to do this and that. That's all useless. There's only one way to stop this, and it's to arrest the criminals. And it's not going to happen by everyone deciding nationwide to arrest the criminals. You got to start arresting them locally. And then you have to spread the arrests, and you have to keep going until you arrest them all. And if everyone's bought, you got to arrest them all. You either have to arrest them for being actively complicit in the genocide of the citizens of your nation, or you have to arrest them on the suspicion of being actively complicit or passively or intermediary somehow or collaborating with a conspiracy to genocide the nation. That's the accusation. This is an accusation made on natural law. If you don't have any laws in your national constitution, your state constitutions, your provincial constitutions, your county or town constitution to authorize citizens' arrest, you don't need it. It's by natural law, which is the right of self-defense. And a government exists to defend the honest people, not to exterminate the citizenry. As soon as they start acting to exterminate the citizenry or gravely injure, kill, maim, or sterilize vast parts of the population, natural law prevails. All human laws take a step back, and the natural right of defense gives every citizen the right to arrest these people. You would have the right even to kill them, but you don't need to go that far. Arrest is sufficient. You arrest them all, and you charge them all. You don't have to hang them, try them, or anything. You arrest them all and try them all. Once they're all arrested and your government's all in prison, then you hold new elections and let the new government decide what to do with them. This is the democratic, peaceful way of doing it. So, since that's the only solution, you're wasting all your time, now that you know what the problem is, doing anything else, even going to work, okay? And now, of course, some people need to work to support themselves, but you're all going to be dead unless you arrest these people. Your children are going to be dead, your parents are going to be dead, and you're going to be dead. So why sit around waiting, saying, I need a plan to flee, I need enough guns to defend myself at the house. Why are you waiting for the threat to come to you? You need to take justice to them. You need to hunt the hunters, okay? And so all you need to do is get the people who have been red-pilled and are awake in your town. Organize a meeting. get together and lay out a plan for arresting the mayor, the chief of police, all the police, the judges, everyone in town who's doing the vaxing, the doctors. Arrest them all and put them in the town or county jail. And then when you're done liberating your town, hold an election and elect new leaders that are against it. Raise a militia and go arrest the people in the adjacent towns and spread the liberty. This is the simple, easy, and only solution. And it's not going to stop any other way because the globalists can't buy everyone in town. And everyone right now wants to be liberated from this thing. So the people are going to back you. And the media can't follow what's going on in every town. So this is the weak underbelly of the Great Reset. And if you don't start doing it, you'll be dead. So wake up and start really opposing the Great Reset and organize the arrest of everyone involved in your town. That's the way to go about it. That's the only way to go about it.
The only way to go about it is arrest those responsible, jail them for their crimes, or you will be dead.